What's up, guys? It's your boy MG, and today we're talking handlebars. Enough with the brutal handlebar setups. Every time I'm on the trail or unloading in a parking lot, I see at least 20 terrible handlebar setups that make me want to throw up. I don't know how you guys are riding with these brutal setups. Let's get you guys squared away so that you can actually ride the motorcycle properly. I see these setups, and I'm talking bar risers, wraparound handguards, GPS mounts, phone mount, roll charts, flashlights, and like stuff that I don't even know what it is. Like, does this even serve a purpose on your handlebars? People buy handlebars specifically so they can have more room to put more shit on their handlebars. It's like sickening. This has gotta stop. Well, you guys gotta know, we only have a few contact points on this motorcycle, and our rider triangle is a key part to our comfort on the motorcycle. A lot of guys will ride a bike at a demo day and be like, oh my God, I love that Beta 250. I love that KTM. That thing just felt so good. And then they'll bring it home and they'll put thousands of dollars worth of protective equipment on it. They'll put their high bars on there with their high rises, with their GPS and their cell phone and their roll chart and their backup light, and they'll completely ruin the feel of the bike and their aftermarket clutch thing and their levers. Oh, the levers. Just don't even talk to me about levers. If you're running anything other than stock levers, go home. All right, but in all seriousness, most people don't really know how to properly set up a motorcycle handlebar setup. Let me help you out. Starting with the handlebar itself. This is one of the most important parts. Common myth number one. I'm a tall guy, so I need a tall set of handlebars. Not true. It depends on your proportions. See this guy here? I got big, long arms. I'm tall, I'm 6'1", and I have long arms. But that means I have plenty of reach. So for a guy like with my chassis, I'm gonna be running a low handlebar setup. I want my handlebars as low as I can get them within reason. Me personally, I've been loving the Phoenix Handlebar 7055s. I've used both the 7055s and the 8055s. The 70 portion of the number is the height, and the 55 is the sweep. That's what I love about the Phoenix handlebars, is they actually have a numbering system to tell you the height and the sweep of the handlebars so that you're not guessing. Unlike other brands that dictate their handlebar bends off of rider names and stuff like that, you don't really know what you're getting. So these guys have made it easy, and they have a quiz on their website where you can go on there and you can enter your dimensions and what kind of riding you do, and they'll give you a suggested handlebar setup. But if you're anything close to like what I look like, a little bit shorter, a little bit taller, anything like that, a 7055 or an 8055 would be a great place to start. Let's talk about mounting the handlebars to the bike, okay? I like to mount my handlebars on the Beta here in the middle hole in the forward dictation with the clamps. My goal is to get my handlebars basically centered with the forks to give it the most neutral feel that I can get. I want to be centered over the stem. I don't want to be steering around the stem. So if your bars are mounted too far forward or they're rolled too far forward, you can get a feeling like a BMX bike with the bars rolled too far forward. It feels like you're steering around your pivot. We don't want that. That's going to create instability in the chassis. We want a neutral handlebar setup. Now also, if you look here, I align my handlebars so that they're in line with the forks. Okay, you can run them a little bit further forward or a little bit further back depending on your own personal likes, but I like mine pretty much in line with the forks. You can see here on the handlebars, I got the center line of the handlebar just a little bit back from the center line of the clamps. So far, low and neutral is what we're going for. Neutral just means we don't want anything too far one way or too far the other way. If our bars are super far back and rolled down, we're gonna get a very down, sunken in small chassis feel, and it's not going to allow us to open up our body and have our body in the position that we want it in. If we bring our handlebars too far forward via the clamps or rolling them, it's going to create an unstable feeling chassis, and you're going to be over the front, and the steering isn't going to feel very good. Now, bar clamps. Oh God, it's hard for me to do this without bagging on people. I know everybody loves bar risers. We gotta stop with the bar risers, guys. You don't need them. You're not that big, bro. You don't need bar risers, dude. Okay? Keep them low. Keep the bike how it came. Beta, Honda, Kawasaki, KTM, they put in millions of research hours to figure out what actually works on these bikes. And what do they come with? They come with pretty low handlebars. So just keep it, pretty close to that. I like the PDHS mounts. You can get these on Slavens Racing. I think these work for the KTMs and the Betas. I love them. Yes, they add a little bit of weight compared to the stock ones, but it gives me a little bit of soft feel, reduces vibration just a little bit, and I just like having a rubber mounted set of handlebars. Yes, there are other options, but this is what I prefer. While we're at it, let's do a quick touch on steering stem tightness. Your steering stem should be tight enough where you can turn it and it'll stay in the spot that you let it go in. You can bump it and it'll close. It's really important when you're first breaking in a motorcycle to ride the bike, loosen your triple clamp bolts, tighten your stem. Ride the bike, tighten your stem, because your bearings and your bearing seats will seat into the frame over time. And if that gets loose and we keep riding and it rocks around in there, we can wear out our frame with the bearing seats. So it's important to keep that tight because we don't want you going through a frame. But you'll get to a point where it doesn't need to be tightened anymore. It just needs to be checked every once in a while. So once it's broken in and set in, then you're good to go. Back to handlebars. I prefer a good clean setup on the handlebars, okay? I know that there are certain accessories that some people must have, okay? My question is, do I really need a GPS on my handlebars? Me personally, I do not. I'll put my phone in my pocket, and if I get lost, I'll pull my phone out, I'll look at Onyx, and then I'll keep going. So I personally don't like having GPS or phone or anything on my handlebars unless I have to, unless I'm following a route. So given that we don't really have to have anything on the handlebars, for me personally, we're going for the clean setup. Starting with your throttle setup, I run the Motion Pro Titan tube. It's a plastic tube with AME grips. The Pro Taper grip glue works really, really well. I'll probably have to do another video on how to actually glue these on properly, but basically you want to have plenty of glue in your grips and on the throttle tube, slide it on, get it set, and then they'll be on there like concrete. They won't pull off. On the non-throttle tube side, it's important to plug the end of your handlebar. Half the time I just walk out into the yard and I cut a branch and I use a piece of stick. I'll shave it down, I'll pound it in there, and then I'll cut it off. The reason we want a solid end on our handlebar is so that if we crash, we're not cookie cuttering the end of our grip. It's going to make our grip last longer. And once, like I said, once these grips are glued on with the grip glue properly, they're like vulcanized to the handlebar. So water and other things can't actually get in. So even if you slice a grip, the piece of the grip that is left will still be glued onto the handlebar. So grips will last me 3 to 4 months of consistent riding. And then when I do need to change them, a lot of times I'll just throw the throttle tube away. And if not, I'll cut it off. I'll do everything I can. And then I'll get a wire wheel on a drill. And I'll actually wire wheel off the handlebar and the grip and the throttle tube and get it to be a fresh surface with all the glue and all the grip completely removed. And then I'll redo the process again. Lock-ons are easy and lock-ons work great. I am an advocate for lock-ons because you get a fresh throttle tube and you get fresh grips and they're very easy to change. I've ran lock-ons before and I like them. Yep, the downside is the throttle tubes crack on them. Like not as tough of a material as like a Titan tube or a metal throttle tube. So that's the only downside. But the upside is they're easy to change. So if you have some back in the truck, you can throw a new one on, re-lube it, and keep it going. And that brings me to another good point. Your throttle tube and your throttle housing needs to be maintained in a serious way. For me personally, I really like the feel of an easy turn throttle. I don't want there to be sand in there. I don't want it to be gritty feeling. I don't even want it to feel dry. I just want it to feel very smooth and sexy. That's what I'm going for. So I'll take this apart and I'll re-lube it frequently. I'll use anything from a very lightweight grease to a little bit of engine oil. I'll put a little engine oil on the handlebar. Anything works. But once again, it's a maintenance thing. So yes, certain products will attract dirt, and then you'll need to take it apart, clean it out, re-lube it, and put it back together. But that's the best way to maintain your throttle tube for maximum smoothness and sexiness. Levers. Lever positioning is, yes, it's rider preference, but anywhere from like flat when you're sitting on the bike to down a little bit is good. I've come down a little bit in the last, 5 years just to make for a little bit more neutral stance, but I'm kind of middle down on the levers. One thing to stay away from, once again, is getting too far out the standard zone. If we're up here, it's probably too high. If we're down here, probably too low. Some people say, well, I want to have low levers to keep my elbows up. Well, you fix one problem, you're going to cause another. If your levers are low and you have to reach for them, now you're forward when you need to be braking, and then you're only holding on with your thumbs. But we want to be able to brake in this position where our palms are up against our grips. So we want them low enough or high enough where we can actually reach them when we're braking hard. A neutral position with the levers is preferred for me. Let's talk about aftermarket and stock levers. Yes, there are some aftermarket levers that will work, okay? One thing you need to understand about these hydraulic systems is that we need free play. See this free play? If your levers don't have any free play, you have a problem. And most aftermarket levers offer a problem in this department, which is why I choose to run stock levers. I do not have a problem with stock levers. If I break one every once in a while, I'll just put a new one on. It's not an issue. I like the simple adjustability on the clutch. I like the feel of these levers. It doesn't change how stiff they feel. They feel great. The thing about non-breakable levers is a lot of times, because of the folding mechanism that they have to put into the lever, it makes it a longer thing here. So basically, if my perch is mounted in the same spot and I have an unbreakable lever, then I would be squeezing the knuckle of the lever if I put unbreakable levers on. Which brings me to another little point. Our perches need to be mounted in the correct position. If our perches are mounted too far on the outside, then I'll be grabbing on to the knuckle of the lever, right? So we want to move our perches in on the handlebars so that when my arms are in the proper riding position, I can comfortably reach out and reach the levers in the right spot on the lever, in this little pocket here. Two reasons why we're doing this. One, it's a leverage thing, okay? If I'm pulling the lever in from right here, that's really hard to do. If I'm pulling it in from right here, much, much easier. Also, now that our perches are moved in on our handlebars, the chances of these levers breaking is much slimmer, because look, now I can tip this bike over and it's harder to hit the levers on the ground. So it's for protection, it's for leverage, and it's for body position. So this is very important, and another reason why adding GPSs and other devices to your handlebars can actually hinder our riding experience. Another thing with the perches, I like these rotating perch mounts because if you crash, then the perches rotate instead of breaking, and then you can smash them back into place. If you don't have access to these, then you can use the stock clamps and you can just wrap Teflon tape underneath the bars, and then you can tighten on top of that Teflon tape. That makes it so they rotate easily. That's just as good of a solution as these aftermarket clamps. Yep, you want them tight enough so that you can push and you can hit and they'll move. Okay, let's talk about wire routing and zip ties and stuff like that. I like to keep things super clean and simple. For starters, I actually usually run my starter button on this side and my kill button on this side. The reason I like that is for dead end starts, I can have my hand fully on the throttle and I can be hitting the start button at the same time. I just haven't switched this bike yet, but I'll get there. It also makes it easier so you don't have to reach to start the bike. You can just be here, boom, start the bike, and you're off. Betas come with these rubber straps. These are a great solution for your cables. I like to run all my cables behind the handlebar like this. So when I'm hitting trees or getting roosted and stuff like that, they're not grabbing my cables and pulling them off the bike. I've heard of people getting roosted and basically having their wire pinched and grounded to their handlebar, so then their bike won't run, their bike won't start. Those can be issues, so we need to keep these starting and kill button cables safe. If you don't have these little rubber straps, you can get them on Amazon for pretty cheap. Zip ties work just as good. I don't like to go too tight on my zip ties though, because if something does need to move, I don't want it to rip the wire. So things need to move. So these should be movable. So if you crash, then these things can be moved out of the way the same way that your purchase can be moved.
Do that again.
Let's talk about handguard for a second. I see a lot of people running wraparound handguards. Yep, that's fine. If it works for you, run it. If that's what you like, all good. What I prefer is perch mount style handguards. I like the mount. The Cheerbees makes one that works really, really well. They mount straight to the perches and they're part of this system. The reason I like this is if you crash and your perches need to move and rotate, then your handguards rotate with your perches. So you're not having interference between another part. Instead of having another thing added to the handlebars as if they were just a mounted a handguard, now you have something that's actually integrated into what you already have. So you have less parts and less overall things to go wrong. They'll usually bolt straight through these bolts and then they'll zip tie to the master cylinders. The other thing that I dislike about wraparound handguards is that's adding a lot of weight to the very top of your motorcycle. Remember, this weight is up high and we're also moving this. This is how we control and manage the motorcycle. So if we have big heavy clumps of metal up here, it's going to make it less comfortable. Also, you're taking a strong piece of metal and coming around and bolting it back to the handlebar. So that makes it so this handlebar can't flex as much. So you're seeing all this flex that I can get out of this handlebar. That plays a big role in the overall comfort of the bike. So I don't want my handlebars to feel rigid, which is another reason why I'm not running wraparound handguards. I want a good, comfortable setup. So to wrap things up, do what you think is right for you. If you like the feel of tall handlebars, do it. I'll give you a hard time at the trailhead, but you should do it anyway. If you like to feel a really low handlebars, you should do that. This is what I do. This is my theory, and this is what I like to do. Low handlebars, neutral setup, stock levers, pretty much a stock setup, Phoenix 7055s, rubber mounted PDHS mounts. Honestly, this is the most simple and durable handlebar setup that I've experimented with. This is my preferred setup. Go have fun, pop wheelies. Let's go riding. If you like this video, or if you disliked it, make sure and comment below. Comment below with questions, comments, any action. I'm here to help you guys. I would love to hear your guys' perspective on this. And if you like this style of video or have questions or ideas for other videos, hit me up in the comments and we'll make it happen.